Hi everyone, this is Adam from LearnMusicTheory.com, and today we're going to be going over the first lesson in the series for music theory, and it's the most basic lesson. It's called the musical alphabet. Now, just like the English alphabet is the basis for words and sentences, paragraphs, and eventually novels, the musical alphabet is the basis for scales, chords, songs, and eventually albums. So let's get started. Okay, so the musical alphabet has 7 letters: A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. These are the 7 natural notes of music, and I say natural because that means they're neither sharp nor flat. And we'll get to those terms in a little while here in a future lesson. But for now, you need to know A, B, C, D, E, F, and G are the 7 natural notes of music. So let's take a look at the piano keyboard and see how these notes relate to the piano. Okay, so here we have your standard piano keyboard. This is my little junky Yamaha keyboard. I have a lot of fun with it. Now, if you look at the piano keyboard, you will see white and black keys. And with the black keys, you see a group of 2 keys, then a group of 3 keys, a group of 2, a group of 3, all the way up and down the keyboard. We're going to focus on the white keys for now, but just to give you a reference point, if you look at the group of 2 black keys, the white key just to the left of this black key is a C. That's a C note. So we're going to move down 2 keys from there to start on an A. So there's a C, B, A. So we'll start on A as we've defined that as the beginning of our musical alphabet, and then we'll work up from there. So if we just pay attention to the white keys and go up from there, we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And since we only have 7 notes, the next one we start right back over with A. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And it's the same descending as well. We have A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A. All the way up and down the keyboard. So let's kind of take a different approach to this, and instead of starting on A, let's start on C. The key of C, we'll get into keys later, but the key of C only has natural notes, C major anyway, only has natural notes, which means no notes in the key are sharp and no notes in the key are flat. So on a piano, you're really only using the white keys. So let's start on this C right here, which is middle C, the C closest to the middle of the piano keyboard. And let's play up to the next C. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now, you probably recognize that as Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do. That is basically the major scale. And we'll get into scales in another lesson as well, but this just gives you a little taste of what scales are all about. And from that first C that we played to the second C we played is called 1 octave. If you listen to them, they sound the same, just one pitch, one is an octave higher. It has a higher pitch, but it's basically the same note. When you think about octave, the prefix oct, O-C-T, stands for 8, and if you look at this, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then the 8th note is the same as the first. That's why it's called an octave. It's basically 8 notes apart. Okay, well let's talk about these black keys for a minute, because as a very young music student, the black keys I never understood, because most of the stuff that I learned very early on was in the key of C, so you never had to play any of the black keys. So let's talk some terminology. Pitch. Pitch is a very common term in music, and pitch just defines how high or low a note is. So if you look at a piano keyboard, the higher you go on the piano, the higher the pitch. The lower you go, the lower the pitch. So that's basically pitch. So if we start again from this middle C, this black note right next to it, you notice is about halfway in between this C and this D. Now that's called a C sharp, and again we'll get to sharps and flats a little bit later on. But for now, what I'm trying to point out here is that there's a term called a half step and a term called a whole step. And on the piano keyboard, a half step just defines two notes that are right next to each other. So a C and then the next closest note. Now, if you're going in a descending pattern, you go C and then the next closest note down is a B, another white key. So if we go up one octave, just going by half notes, we have C, D, C. Okay, so we've covered half steps. Now let's take a look at whole steps. A whole step is just basically two half steps. So if we defined a half step as the distance between one note and the next closest note, a whole step would just be one more half step. So from C to D is a whole step because you're going half step, half step. So that's two half steps, so that's one whole step from C to D. Same from D to E. Half step, half step. So two half steps equals one whole step. Okay, so here's where it gets a little tricky. We said from C to D is a whole step because there's one key in between them. It's two half steps. So let's start on B and let's go up a whole step, which would be two half steps. So there's one half step and there's two half steps. So from B to, this is called C sharp, is one whole step. Now the same phenomena occurs between E and F. If we start at E and we go up one whole step, which is two half steps, there's one half step, another half step. So from E to, this is called F sharp, is a whole step. Okay, so that's half steps and whole steps on the piano. Now the piano is a little different because it's white and black keys and there's no black key between B and C and E and F. So let's take a look at an example of half steps and whole steps on the guitar. Okay, so in keeping with our example of C, I'm going to start on the second string, which is the A string, on the third fret. That's a C note, right there. So I'm going to start there, and a half step on the guitar is simply from one fret to the next fret. That's a half step. A whole step is just two half steps. So two frets. And that's basically it on a guitar as far as half steps and whole step. A half step is one fret, and a whole step is two frets. Now, we'll get into the names of the notes a little bit more later, and scales will really help you understand these concepts. But for now, basically we just wanted to go over the musical alphabet, half steps, whole steps, and pitch. Okay, so today we went over the musical alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, and we defined pitch, we defined an octave, and we defined half steps and whole steps on both the piano keyboard and on the guitar fretboard. The next lesson we're going to get more deep into sharps and flats and let you know what those are. To augment these lessons, please go to learnmusictheory.com. Completely free lessons on music theory. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks.